Joining us now on the show to share his perspective on the happenings in Cross River State is Senator JARIGBE Agom JARIGBE, a member of the People's Democratic Party and senator representing Cross River North in the National Assembly. Welcome to the show, Senator JARIGBE. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. Well, Senator JARIGBE, we just finished talking to Mr. Alphonsus Oga Eba, that I'm sure you know very well, APC chairman, Cross River State. And he has been saying that, well, they will go on appeal because the court gave a very bad ruling, that they don't think it's in order. And he also said that, you know, all of this will not matter really, that there's no anxiety on the part of the APC and its leadership. And that the PDP, you know, claiming that is this and that, is a case of phantasmagoria, you know, to use his phrase. As the PDP becomes so fictional in Cross River State. But quickly, what's your take on the judgment and also on some of the points made by Alphonsus Eba?
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Pardon, I can't hear you.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. We can hear you here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly, Senator JARIGBE. Please go ahead.
Okay. I listened to the factional chairman of APC say a few things.
Why do you say factional?
That are inconsistent.
He didn't describe himself as factional.
Okay. It's a matter of fact that he's a factional chairman because there are other chairmen of APC in Cross River State, and the issues are before the court. Until those issues are decided, he cannot say that he is the substantive chairman. Anyway, that's their own issue. He said a lot of things that are inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution and trying to make a point or make points that don't exist. He is a lawyer, but I don't think he is practicing what he studied because he has gone off point. He talked about the Constitution, but I know that in Section 68, sub 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is clearly spelled out that if a member of the Legislative House defects to another party in the course of the tenure where there is no faction, and the faction should be such that the party is not able to function before you can defect. And if you do so, then the seat of that member shall be declared vacant. So I don't know where he is coming from. He said there was a problem and they were expelled. I challenged them to bring a document that shows the expulsion and who signed that document. Those are mere fabrications here and there. It is crystal clear that the young man is a pathological liar. I don't want to use uncouth words here, but because he's not my contemporary, I should be talking with the governor and not his boys. But as it were, for the purpose of this discourse, I'll have to say a few things. Himself and the governor are new to the party, but the former governor graciously supported Senator Ben Ayade to becoming governor, and he became governor. But the issue in the PDP is that for the first time we were seeing something very alien to us. We saw someone in the mold of a megalomaniac take power in Cross River State and was on a frolic of his own with his younger brother and this group of comedians around him. And I give you an example. In my own ward, during the congresses, the governor said I should produce an ex-officio member, and that they had chosen who will be chairman of party, secretary, and all of that in my own ward. So they just wanted to take over the whole structure of the party and retire the rest of us. And we said no. We went for congresses, ratified by the National Working Committee of the party. And they went behind to start stoking troubles, to say they wanted a change. And we went to court to say no. We cannot get our ESCOs ratified and you go behind to change them unilaterally because you are governor. The party is not an appendage of government house. So we followed it up to the Supreme Court and we won at the Supreme Court. The governor decided to leave the party and he addressed the press. And he said he had no issues with the PDP, but that he was leaving to go and help the president tackle insecurity in Nigeria. So why do they approbate and reprobate? You say there were no issues. You now say you were expelled. The facts are very clear. Thank you.
Well, there was evidence adduced in court of a letter of expulsion, but the judge, in his wisdom, you might want to say, rejected it. It's one thing to adduce evidence, it's another for the courts to actually find that it has probative value, which in this case it was not found to have probative value. So my question for you now is what's next in this unfolding saga? There was police presence today at the Cross River State House of Assembly. Are you aware of who might be agitating? Because the police is not going to show up without, any kind of reports, any kinds of cause for concern. Are you aware of any reports of anybody threatening violence? Why was the police there?
Anyway, I start from the issue of the document they submitted in court. In law, in evidence, there's what is called admissibility. I think that document was not admissible in court. For those of them who are lawyers, they should have understood that. And so if a document is not admissible, it will be thrown out. It's of no moment. And it cannot change the narrative. On the issue of the police taking over the House of Assembly in Cross River State, the governor is the chief security officer of Cross River State. And he asked the commissioner of police to send policemen there to barricade that place, just like he did when we had our rally last month or 2 months ago. He did that to us. And that's what he's doing because the court has ruled that his own members of the APC who decamped from the PDP should vacate their seats. And those that remained in PDP with us were supposed to go and sit. So he barricaded the place, He's known for that kind of brutality and brutish tendencies. But I think Nigeria is not a banana republic. Those things will be fixed.
Senator JARIGBE, if you heard the last speaker, Mr. Alfonso Segba, he said that all of this was about you.
Yes.
In fact, despite the fact, he said this was about you. This was about your case. So I want you to make clarifications, as regards this. Even went further to say you criminally and nicodemously went to court and all of that, part of the other things he said. But he's been able to pin it that the divisions, were around matters that concerned you. Please just help us clarify what really happened.
Anyway, we say the facts speak for itself. I don't need to say anything about this. It's public knowledge that we did a primary elections and the governor brought in some so-called security men. He has a group of these policemen he calls the stink unit. They are not under the commissioner of police. they report to his chief security officer, and that is an illegality. And I want the Inspector General of Police to look at this perspective. The governor has the CSO, and they have a team directly under the CSO, a unit they call the Stink Unit. They have their office somewhere in the state housing in Calabar, and he uses them as his attack dogs. He brought them to the primary elections, and they were shooting at delegates that they knew obviously were not going to vote for them. We have them on videos. Those things were reported in the media and all of that. And we did our primary elections. I emerged. It was in the news. He now went, submitted his name, and the former chairman of party had sympathies for him, even when he knew that the governor was handicapped and could not win any elections, and sent the name of his own candidate, Stephen Ode, to INEC. I went to court to challenge that. That matter went all through to the Supreme Court, and I won. I was declared candidate of PDP, eventually sworn in as senator representing Cross River North. We went through the legal process. We went through everything and became senator. So I don't know what aspect of criminality was involved in all of this. It is left for Alphonsus or the chairman of APC and the governor to tell the world what was involved that he says is criminal. Are we saying that the judiciary was compromised? Obviously, the judiciary was not compromised. They followed the letters of the law. Olani Pekun, who was their lawyer, the learned silk, filed a notice of appeal that was defective to the Supreme Court. In that case, who will be held responsible? You know that the notice of appeal is an originating process, and it is fundamental, and it was defective. That means that the situation was incurably bad, and the court had nothing before it, and it was thrown out. Who are we to blame? Are we going to blame the Supreme Court? Are you going to blame JARIGBE? Or you are going to blame the author of that notice of appeal? Your guess is as good as mine on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator JARIGBE, I mean, our concern is also about the people of Cross River State. Where are the people of Cross River State in all of this? I put it to Mr. Eba that, look, PDP is known as a traditional PDP state. Or rather, Cross River is known as a traditional PDP state. And that what chances does it think that his party, the APC, has in the 2023 elections? And that was when it dismissed the PDP no longer being on the ground in Cross River. So how much influence do you think Ben Ayade has, having emerged now as the leader of the APC, the main party, in that particular state?
Anyway, you know that in the last elections, we had elections in 3 LGAs: Akpabuyo, Ogoja, and Iyala. Ogoja Iyala Federal Constituency and Akpabuyo State House Constituency. We defeated them in Akpabuyo. In Ogoja, where I come from, the records are there. We won the 10 wards out of 10. When the governor discovered that he was losing his commissioners, his special advisors, members of the House of Assembly were losing in their polling units, he deployed this very stink unit, led by his CSO, masked. The pictures are there for everyone to see. They went to each of the polling units, took the presiding officers into a coastal bus provided by the governor. They changed all the results, and with all of that, they won with 2,000 votes in that federal constituency. I went to the commissioner of police. He didn't say anything about what was going on. The federal commissioner, Festus Okoye, was there. He knew everything that was going on. Nothing was done about it. They collated these results and announced. Alphonsus himself, who claims he's a lawyer, went to his polling unit with policemen with guns. We are not allowed to go to the polling units with guns, with policemen and all of that, who are carrying arms. He went there. He fought just to deliver his own polling unit. And they say they are on ground. We are before the court. We applied for certified true copies of the data from the Beavers machine. And it has proven that there was overvoting in those areas that they hijacked. And that the number of accredited voters was less than the number of the total votes scored in that elections. And we have asked that those polling units should be cancelled. And once those polling units are cancelled, we will be winning with an overwhelming majority. So the APC is nowhere in Cross River State under the leadership of Ben Ayade. Ayade has performed abysmally in the history of governors in Cross River State. Forget about all the show on TV and grandstanding and epileptic white elephant projects here and there. Those things are non-functional. How has the building of various industries that he claims added value? What are the revenues generated from these so-called industries? Those things are just drain pipes. They are conduits for fleecing away our common patrimony. Cross River State is in a state of comatose. You bring a group of young men and you give them what is called food on the table and you pay them 80,000 every month. And even if you bring 3,000 people, how does that add up? You are just creating problems for the future. And then a governor is on a frolic of just making his family members become millionaires.
If I could come in here, because we only have
we talk about
this question. Senator, can you hear me? If I could come in here. You waded into the row between Governors Obaseki and Wike in defense of Governor Wike. And I'm going to read part of your statement. You said, at some point, Governor Ayade became an albatross in our party. When he left, there was jubilation. In fact, if Ayade left the PDP because of Wike, that is a testimony to how clearly handicapped Ayade was in the context of being influential and committed to the party. Does this not strengthen the claims that PDP became a hostile environment for Governor Ayade, which is why he left?
Anyway, you know, he tried to ride roughshod over everyone. And we resisted him and resisted him vehemently. I've told you, there's this psychological problem of trying to be a megalomaniac. When you can't get your way, you will think that you are being suppressed and oppressed. But that's not the situation. The PDP could not take what Ayade was up to. It is not his private enterprise.
All right. I think at this point, we'd just like to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights on this conversation, Senator JARIGBE. Thank you for your time.